what was the concept behind the new trailer? Every trailer has a specific purpose.
Specific purpose, okay. Because in the last trailer we like had a deep dive into, we didn't know, we had no direction of what the story was trying to tell us. It was very confusing. Nothing was connecting, and for it to not connect here is a very good thing, because we want to make sure that when we are discussing the actual like when we are poking on the idea and like talking about, hey, what is this game foreshadowing, what are we getting ourselves into, we want to make sure that we want to get into the new game with the proper mindset. And it already gave us a mindset of the 2 timeline theory, and the recent trailer indicates Zack is gonna have his own adventure, and we're gonna play as Zack. We have to play Zack's story, because I'm gonna look at Easter egg trailer video that they're gonna like that someone produced, but someone pointed out Cloud's mother in the background during Zack's like cutscenes. So it's gonna be very confusing to where like what does everything mean and where nothing matters. Where it is the recent trailer before this brought up a big question about whether or not who is telling the truth, because we saw in the last trailer that Tifa was very confused and very uncertain of what actually happened, because he's telling everything word for word as if he was at the Nibelheim incidents, but Tifa did not see him at that place. So I see where this is coming from.
So since this is the second installment of the VII Remake project, there are people who have played the previous game or enthusiastic fans to follow the built-in mysteries. But for newcomers, those who are simply interested in Final Fantasy VII, we wanted to include a full overview of what kind of experience they will have in the remake project. Yeah, I did a pretty good job at that. So there is less of a mysterious pretense to the story this time around, but you can look forward to the next trailer.
Next trailer? There's another trailer?
That they don't go ham on the Zack story stuff in this trailer. He's pretty much admitting that. We don't go ham.
So hold on. So there's less of a mystery pretense. So there is less of a mysterious pretense to the story this time. So it's been sprinkling the entire time that Zack has something to do with everything, because we ended Remake and Remake Integrate with a cutscene including Zack as if he survived, as if he never took his last stand, because that was a canon event across Spider-Verse meme, where he was supposed to die to then almost instill these PTSD symptoms to Cloud. But if Zack never died, what could have been Cloud's fate? And we already seen it in the last trailer where everyone, Barrett, Tifa, Red X, Red 13, Aerith, everybody was shipped off in helicopters. That was the fate that it pokes at, and we don't know. We don't know. Like it's there's less pretense. Like, oh, there's something going on with Zack now, but to what extent we don't know.
Ham on story spoilers, timeline stuff. They do say some things, mind you, but they're saying the next trailer is probably going to go ham. I'm going to throw it out there that the next trailer is likely the Game Awards. It's going to be around December-ish in this year, and it'll probably be more focused on Zack stuff.
I would hope so.
Sid, right? We'll probably see.
We never. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Because this is the last This trailer showed gameplay of Cat Sith. It showed a teaser of the encounter of Vincent. So maybe the next trailer, hopefully there's more details about Vincent's involvement, and maybe Sid as a cutscene. Like, we interact with him, but we never play with him, if that makes sense. Like, as a party member.
More on big reveals. They'll probably get a reveal if Vincent is actually playable in some way, but we'll get Zack stuff instead. Skipping that trailer to avoid spoilers? No, that trailer I do want to watch. I am going to be very cautious about the launch trailer. Like the few weeks before the game comes out, or like the week before the game comes out, the launch trailer was poisonous for FF7 Remake.
Really?
That is where
How
I
so?
have a deep concern. So I'm genuinely glad I did not watch the final trailer. It always has problems, and I think even with Final Fantasy,
I can make sense to that because I don't think I watched as many trailers of Remake as I thought I did, but all I knew was that it was Final Fantasy VII. Some things were present, and I was excited, but I can always do a retrospective in the last remake in the remake trailers because I can do a retrospective, and I don't know what scenes he's referring to, but you know, maybe like with how they're curating these trailers, I'm excited to see what they're going to reveal in the next trailer before the release of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
16. Historically, Square Enix just goes ham for some reason, and they were like, "What? I'm probably gonna wait on that one." But everything before that, like, is leading up to hype, right? Is still building us up to a not complete spoilery fountain, but things that we've already been assuming might be the case. Anyway, that's actually a great answer from Nomura. Pretty much acknowledging the fact that, you know, we're leaving a brooding era of mystery around our previous trailers, but not so much in this one. There was a scene with Cloud and Sephiroth fighting together. Will the player be... Dude, is this still going? Holy shit.
There's a little more,
Will the player
okay.
be able to get control of Sephiroth in Rebirth? I think so.
I would hope so because
7,
there again earlier it mentioned any accompanying party members will become playable in the next game. So Red 13 was an accompanying party member, and in this game he's more playable. So there's a chance that Sephiroth can be a playable character. We don't know, based on that comment regarded earlier in the article.
I'm sure you can guess which scene I'm talking about, but you will be able to control Sephiroth in the same scene in this title as you did in the original flashback scene. Yeah, we get it. We know. But here's the different part, right? It isn't going to be like menu selections. I just press attack with Sephiroth or use some of his OP magic, right? It's not gonna be that.
It's gonna be I feel like it's gonna be a situation where we're gonna play Sephiroth as Zack remembered him, and he's not gonna be this OP god. We're not gonna play a version of Sephiroth that has all the cheat codes. We're gonna play a version of Sephiroth that was very hopeful. We're gonna play a version of Sephiroth that isn't told through Remake. We're gonna see Sephiroth told through Crisis Core.
It's just the one scene, right? Well, granted, it is just the one scene, but the one scene is long. The one scene they're talking about is pretty lengthy. It could potentially be like an hour to 2 hours of actual like gameplay. Did we not control him in the original? Yeah, he just acted, didn't he? I think I'm thinking of like Game Shark codes. In the original, he just like did his own thing. You're right, he was an AI. So that will be different if we actually control him. Run around as Sephiroth and whack shit. Good point. That is definitely, again, you can check his equipment. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, it was menu shit. I'm thinking of New Threat. God damn it. Stupid fan-made stuff is manipulating my opinions. Manipulating my memories. Yes, people want to run around as whack shit as Sephiroth. That is a thing. And if you're making a Final Fantasy remake in modern times, yeah, you make Sephiroth playable. Obviously. Not for the whole game, but you allow people to play as Sephiroth again, or Sephiroth for the first time. Might be like Sonon. Nah, I think he'll be...
Sonon is a little different.
You will be able to control Sephiroth as you did in the original? Uh-oh. This is confusing.
Yeah, the wording is very different. Controlling Sephiroth in the same scene in this title as you did in the original. Because in the original game is nothing like this, right? So, in terms of choosing whether or not Sephiroth will attack or use magic, that's the control I think they're referring to. But to control him in the same way that you would switch between party members is something entirely different.
as you did in the original. In the original, he sort of auto-attacked. Okay, I'll throw this out right now. This is confusing as shit. Goddamn Nomurian, goddamn transcripts here, dude. If this translates as it does, then he's gonna be like Red 13 at the end of 7 Remake, where he just like runs around and shit. And you can combo with him, and you can do stuff with him, like Sonon potentially, but he doesn't technically, like, you can't run around as Sephiroth and whack shit. That would be disappointing, because I think people would like to, I want to run around as Cloud, and then I want to switch to Sephiroth and whack shit, and then switch back to Cloud. Like, that is the point.
That is the extent, yeah.
In a cowboy costume. Nomura is describing this shit as in, you're not going to be controlling him like the original. It's just going to be you as Cloud, and Sephiroth works with you, and you can dual tech with him, as we saw in the trailer,
which
right?
sounds like it,
OG
yeah.
FF7. Yeah. If this is as the Nomurian text explains, then Sephiroth will not be controllable by the player. It'll be like Integrate, where you can do some team attacks and stuff, but running around as Sephiroth and mashing the attack button on enemies and shit is not going to be possible. That, to me, would be disappointing. Again, Nomurian translation we have to deal with for 2 times now about, like, Vincent and Sid potentially not being playable. That would suck if they're not playable. And now also Sephiroth. What the shit, man? Why do we need we need somebody to translate the translation? I'm so confused. The gold saucer appears in the newly released trailer, but will players be able to enjoy the much anticipated date scene on the Ferris wheel?
Yeah, so we already experienced something similar in Remake, because in Remake you had the option to, depending on your affiliation with Tifa or Aerith or that third character that was the reporter / thief, you could have gotten different scenes, because there's a scene where Aerith has told you, don't fall for me, don't get attached to me, and in Tifa's scene you get the generic canon where they are bound to be lovers and they are always matching their clothes together. And then there's that scene in the original game where you're just on the Ferris wheel with Barrett and with Red 13. It gets awkward.
Wheel too. Of course. Oh god, Nomura's gonna answer. Shit. Here we go. We're ready for a roller coaster. This is one of the major highlights of the Golden Saucer, so it's included. Okay. Good. Please look forward to how...
Because you can also go in the same, like, thing with Wtphu as well. So does that mean there's going to be multiple playthroughs where you get all these cutscenes? No. I think this will be a situation where you can go back to chapter select and take a potion about something and answer certain questions in certain ways to then see what it looks like with Wtphu, see what it looks like with Aerith, Tifa, and then with the boys. You and the boys.
With high-resolution visuals. Okay. Good.
Thank you.
I didn't need to consult the Elder Gods on that one. Thank God. Rebirth or Remake showed the story up to the escape from Midgar. But what point does FF7 Rebirth take it?
Where does it take us? Wait, hold on. Huh. That is a big question, because, like, as I recorded earlier, like, Final Fantasy Remake was a great way of just implementing, hey, this is where the story's going to go. It's going to cover up until you escape Midgard. And already that game has a 40 to 80 hour experience of you being in that world. Of Midgard alone, that alone is a good... If that's the only Final Fantasy game you play in this trilogy, it is a very great accumulation of what it could be. But is it going to end at the titular climax of Aerith being killed? Or is it going to be leaving at what happens post-reunion? Because it shows a different kind of reunion where the Sephiroth clones originally came to the summit, and then the confrontation happens, and then yada yada yada. Or is it going to end where Sephiroth had summoned Meteor, and you have X amount of days, technically, where the game will end? Because that's what happened, because after Aerith's death, I believe he then summoned Meteor, and then it took a considerable amount of time to gather your resources for the life stream to protect itself, to lead to the final confrontation.
Oh no, Nomura's answering. Can I get Hamaguchi to answer? Can I get the Hamaguchi answer here? All right. We've mentioned this a few times before, but the order in which you can explore locations is not the same as the original Final Fantasy VII. There are some shifts in the order. For example, Wtphu, one of the major locations, is not part of the route in Rebirth and will be visited in the next one. Okay. Fair enough. Literally optional content. Was no shit optional content in the original Final Fantasy VII. You did not need to go there at all.
Okay.
So that's fair. If they're going to make Wtphu a big part of Part 3, cool.
We all know everyone hates phone grip, so I see you got one.
Shh. I don't want to hear about you, Zoomer. I want to hear
Completely
Max.
fine with that. Although a big part of Part 3, cool. Completely fine with that. Although, there are some changes in the order of the locations. The locations depicted in this title extend up to the Forgotten Capital.
Forgotten Capital? Oh, so it is the death scene, maybe?
Whoa, they said it. They just said it.
The
So
Forgotten
City is
Capital.
there. What's that? In the original game, it's the end of Disc 1. And there's a
End of
big
Disc
moment
1?
that happens at the end of Disc 1. They're called the Forgotten City in the original game. They're calling it the Forgotten Capital. It probably is called that in the Japanese version. So he specifically mentions order of events. Here's
Okay, so the order of events. So, how big is this game gonna be? How big is this game gonna be? Because this game alone, the last game alone, only just scratched 5 hours of the original game of the original title. There, Max is indicating that this Rebirth is going to incorporate, is going to cover up until the ending of the first disc of a 3-disc game from 97.
Big question. Is the Forgotten City going to be in the same place? Because let's be real, the location of the Forgotten City was always kind of weird in FF7. You pretty much show up on a beach, you run into a forest, you go through a fake forest, like a mock forest, and then you're at like the capital. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm here. And it's kind of odd that after that, then you run up and you're in like the glacier, and it's like, oh, that's funny. Like I'm here, and now you're in the glacier, and then you move to the top. I wonder if they're just gonna move it, right? Could be more close to the Forgotten City. Yeah, maybe they'll merge them. I don't know. So anyway, let's talk about the huge news. This is big. Reading this again, this is immediately kind of disappointing, right? Granted, it's not that disappointing because to me there was always two places FF7 Remake was going to end at, or at least Part 2. It was always going to end at the end of Disc 1 in the Forgotten City, or it was going to end at the top of the world with the crater, right? With the crater and the summoning a meteor. There was those two. A lot of people were thinking, oh, it's going to end at, it was going to end at Temple of the Ancients. It was going to end at Cloud's hometown. Why am my brain farting? I'm still lacking sleep right now. It was going to end at Nibelheim. Like, no, I don't think those are appropriate thematic.
Yeah, because like Nibelheim is not. It's hard to really say where is a good stopping point because if it only scratched 5 hours, like there's gonna be a bunch of theories. Like I just said, like what if it ended where Aerith was gonna be stabbed and then Meteor summoned, like at the cusp of like Meteor's now summoned. Now what? Game ends. What? That's not the right place, I guess. So this okay.
Places to drop that shit. Before this is mentioned, we're mentioning this was said a few times before. The order in which you explore locations is not the same. The original 7, and there are several shifts in that order. Using Wtphu as an example, you're not going to Wtphu in this game. But there are some changes in the order of the locations. The locations depicted in this title extend to the Forgotten Capital. He has to remind you 3 times in the same paragraph, shit is changing.
Yeah, because you have to remember that this is not a one-for-one recreation of Final Fantasy VII. of 1997. This is not the same game. It will not go down the same path. Where in the first game you can just follow the campaign major objectives only. This is making you go through the motions of all the side missions, and like they shuffled the deck of where you're gonna go, of what you're gonna experience, and you will not experience it the way you did when you were 5 in 97, whatever. It's gonna be different.
Story ends in the Forgotten Capital. We have already seen shit in the trailer that alludes to stuff that happens in the story much later. Like, even after the Forgotten City and shit. Much later. We saw Medeal. We saw potentially shit that happens thematically.
What? Yes, it is.
In the Northern Crater already. Weapon stuff, which is like much later. It's like, whoa, okay. The big part of this story is the reunion, right? The big part of Final Fantasy VII Part 2 is reunion. When does the reunion take place, chat, in the original story? So maybe the reunion doesn't happen. That's a chance, right?
It is a chance because like the trailer shows a different encounter, and it shows more cookie crumbs and breadcrumbs regarding these remnants who are suffering from cell degradation, and all these things incorporated and encapsulated. It's a very different experience. You're not going to see the game the same way in 97. That's he had to explain it, like Max said. He explained it 3 different ways, 3 times. That is not going to be the same as the original 97 foretelling.
There's a chance that's happening. The locations depicted in this title extend up to the Forgotten Capital.
Up to.
Okay.
Where the greatest fates.
Right now. I'm going to throw it out. He doesn't say it ends at the Forgotten Capital. I'm going to throw this out right now. Here's my prediction.
Extends
and how I
up
think
to.
It will go, and how I would prefer it to go. I think the Forgotten Capital is going to be past the glacier sequences. I just think they're going to move the Forgotten Capital past the crater scene or into the crater. That's where I think it's going to happen. I think the characters going through the snow and snowboarding, I think that shit's actually going to be in the game. I think that's saved for the next trailer. But they're just going to move the Forgotten City and the events of that stuff past the discovery of weapons, past all that stuff.
Yeah, because in the trailer, the trailer showed a masked figure swimming in a tube, and we don't know what that is. But I mentioned that is considered one of the weapons of the like one of them being the ultimate weapon, the red weapon, blue weapon, so forth. It's massive creatures. It's massive weapons deployed by the life stream to protect itself, and that is what's going to be introduced in this game. So, Tifa was swimming in a pool and was floaty woaty as we saw something swim by.
But what would happen if Aerith? Maybe the thing that happened again. The events of the Forgotten Capital, I don't think will take place right past the Bone Village. Because that's where the Forgotten Capital is. So you have to think about that. What if they just move the Forgotten Capital up past the events, what happens at the Forgotten Capital, past the events of Glacier, past the events of Bone Village, past the events of all that shit, and just put it, way later in there. That's my bet. That's what I think is going to happen. Instead of like, oh, is it going to end at the end of Disc 1? Well, maybe they're just going to move the end of Disc 1 a bit higher up.
Yeah, because it's still a shuffling deck. Regardless of the way we feel and the way the majority of for the people who've experienced completely Final Fantasy VII, including Max, this is again an experience of a shuffled deck. They shuffled the contents of Final Fantasy VII. Case in point, Roche. We never met Roche in the original game. This is a new character. They're introducing new characters to further flesh out the title. So for them to shuffle the deck, they can move even though we know where it'll extend up to, they're going to move that flag further or closer or further. They're going to pass it further. And it's hard to say where Nomura wants the title to finish, where it wants us to go.
the big gimmick of the characters is to get to the top of the world. Maybe the weapons wake up, and then Aerith says the prayer. And maybe Aerith says the prayer at the Forgotten Capital after that shit. That's my copium. Yeah, that definitely is my copium. There is already a couple of things in the story.
And already, like, we don't know if she'll say the prayer in the same way, because as we saw in the original game of Remake, the way the game starts is where Aerith was pushed out of the alley and into the interaction with Cloud, and she had to insist that, hey, take this flower, this is good for you. There's a lot of pushing that has happened, so it's not again going to be told in the same way. So maybe we'll see the prayer in its entirety, but will it be the same? We cannot guarantee that, because things are already different as they are, because we defeated the Spectres of Fate in the first game. So how Fate will protect the timeline is hard to say. There is no guarantee of us acknowledging where things will go.
That are like, where are we? Wait, this takes place in the Northern Crater. That might not take place there, granted, but how would we know? Where would confirmation be? What visuals would we need to get any kind of confirmation that where the story is going? And the answer is Aerith running around with characters in snow. That's it. In some point in the latest trailers, if they show environments where Cloud and the characters and Aerith are fighting with each other in snow, in some way, shit has changed. It's moved.
Glaciers,
They moved the Forgotten City, straight up. But we haven't seen that yet. There's still a lot more stuff. There's still 4 months of trailers that they could potentially do. Or if there's snow at all. Yeah, if there is no snow, if there is nothing like that, then, that is... They're keeping events the same. They're keeping things and locations the same, just moving apart plot points. Ooh, this is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
This is exciting. If we see the characters like running around in a snowy environment, I think that is confirmation they moved the Forgotten City further, and the events, that plot point, they moved maybe ahead of the reunion scene. Maybe they moved that shit completely away. In my opinion, that's better. I have to remind you, and I have said this before. I've said this a few times before. The events of the Forgotten City at the end of Disc 1 and what happens right after when you get to the capital, when you get to the Northern Crater for the reunion are fucking weird in OGFF7. You have a very serious event that happens, and the next thing you do is snowboard down a mountain with your friends. It's fucking weird. If there's a thing that you could change in the original story is where those events happen. It's super odd. It's an emotional whiplash is the best time to describe it. That is one of the best reasons why you can move the Forgotten Capital to a different part. Have all the snowboarding shit. Have the blizzard. Have all that fun. Keep all that shit, right? Just move that plot point area up north. Just move it further up. And, I'll be real. Doesn't it make a lot more sense thematically if Meteor is called? Where is it? Yes. Meteor is being fucking summoned, dude, right? Doesn't it make a lot more sense if this event maybe happens? Like, oh God, we're gonna die. This chick is gonna say her prayer. She's gonna use the white materia prayer, right?
And then the game cuts.
After that happens. That, to me, that makes a lot more sense. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I think that's what they're gonna do.
But that makes sense because, like, for all the twists and turns that this trailer has given us, for all the twists and turns that the game has given us, it sounds like a better way to reel in the community, because we are excitingly concerned about that particular ending of the prayer, of she's in the midst of the prayer, Sephiroth does his thing, and then things hit the fan. We go down. We are running down the hill once that happens. So for it to, like, exemplify what's going on, it's a big question of everything. So to end Rebirth in that prayer scene, cut it there, or cut after, like, that tragic event, cut it. Let our emotions cry. Let our emotions, like, not be satisfied, and beg us to, like, hey, you like this, huh? I'm gonna cut it right here. It's gonna be thematically, like, pretty cool, where we had many questions at the end of Remake, so to give us more questions to ask in Rebirth is gonna be good.
I would do that. If you're going to move those events around, I think it makes a lot more sense just to put the Forgotten City later. And again, are we ever going to get confirmation of this? I think confirmation of any of this shit happening is if we see characters in a storm or in the snow. Yeah, hold on a second. That's a good call. And very appropriate, considering that we don't know.
Ding.
Very appropriate. My thick-ass brain prediction is that Aerith, in her huge plot moment, is saying a prayer to protect the planet from meteor or some shit. And the reunion, the Northern Crater, all those situations happen first, and then the moments of the Forgotten City, the elements of the Forgotten City happen after. That's what I think is gonna happen. I think people are this might, and it's a massive copium on my end, but I think some people are looking at this as like, that's obviously a place you can end it, but the dude literally, goddamn Nomurian text back here. We're sitting here translating the Nomurian texts,
like a Bible.
The Elder Gods again. He does mention several times stuff is changing, stuff is changing, stuff is changing. It's going to extend to the Forgotten Capital.
Extend,
right.
But that doesn't mean that's where we're going to end.
All right. Yeah, this is just making me more interested, to be real. This is so cool, dude. This shit was incredible. Oh my god.
This article.
Everything in here was incredible. The Nomurian texts, not so much. Some stuff was
Nomurian text is always like a...
The Vincent and Sid stuff.
Nomurian text is essentially what you get when you cross a black cat. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's real. You question reality when Nomurian text drops. So what does he mean? I don't know, but find out in the next title.
Okay, I'm confused and we don't know. Are they going to be playable? Confused and we don't know. And what was the other one? The obviously ending, like where is the Forgotten Capital actually going to be? We don't know. And Sephiroth being playable, not actual confirmation of Sephiroth being playable, just more confusion. Jesus! All right, now Square is going in officially. God damn, dude.
And that's like, there's a lot of questions to be had. We're really again, like, the fans of this series is having its meal. Nomurian text is cooking. This company is cooking such a feast, and we have until February to like really experience it. 3 months. Well, again, there's a situation where they're gonna have exclusivity for the first 3 months, and then conversations about the PC is gonna be dropped. And I don't have a 5, so we can't experience the title together when the game drops, but we will experience the game together, much like how in 16 we're going to experience 16 together. I almost guarantee it, because I want to experience it because of everything is dropping, everything is coming up, things are being put down, things are being enjoyed, and it's fantastic. Lord, let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching. And raise your flags.